Hello there, dear traveler. I see you found yourself lost within the morbid forest. But don't fear. Ranger Harper is here to guide you through the twisted tales seeping among the trees. Best stay close to me, lest you find yourself trapped within the morbid forest. The Morbid Forest is a horror anthology podcast available on all streaming platforms and suitable for mature travelers only.
You're listening to It's All in the Cards podcast, a horror fiction podcast where all questions are welcome, but you may not like the answers. Some material here may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hi, this is an indie bookstore, right?
Well, I guess you could say that. We carry indie books for sure.
Great, I'm looking for one of my favorite No Sleep authors' books. I think it's an anthology.
No Sleep? As in the No Sleep podcast?
Yep, are you a fan too?
You could say that. What's the author's name?
Hernandez. LP Hernandez. But I can't remember what the book is called. I think it's named after one of his No Sleep stories.
LP Hernandez, No Sleep Stories. Bad Apples?
No.
The Nightmare Room.
Oh, that was a good one, but no, I don't think that's the name.
The Rat King?
That's it. Yeah, I remember now. Has a picture of a rat wearing a crown and everything.
Sounds about right.
Do you have it?
I do not, but I can get it for you. We can have it delivered here or shipped straight to your address.
Delivered here is fine. This place looks pretty neat. I may come here more often.
You can sit and enjoy reading The Rat King right here. It's my little slice of paradise.
Is that a bloodstain on the floor?
Hey, I didn't say it was everyone's slice of paradise. A Dospo era teen at a carnival. A curious kid discovering a local cryptid. A criminal riding the rails. These are just a few of the characters you can find in The Rat King by LP Hernandez. The Rat King holds 14 illustrated adventures exploring horror and its tributaries. Featuring stories adapted by the No Sleep podcast, this collection will stay with you long after the final page is turned. Author of Disintegration and Breaker, call The Rat King a powerful, haunting, original collection of stories that not only unsettles the reader with the visceral horrors that are revealed, but also with the psychological trauma and emotional journeys that each character takes, towards redemption, or vengeance, or looming terror. This is an author to keep an eye on. You can find The Rat King on Amazon, link in the show notes. I remember Cassie's lips trailing down my neck. I remember her fingers caressing ever so gently but hungrily. I remember Eric's heated gaze as he watched us ravage each other. I remember the gluttonous feeling of feeding from both of them, and not being able or wanting to move from the flesh pile we had became when it was all said and done. Those memories are swept aside as this new gruesome picture of a flesh pile burns itself into my mind. Eric and Cassie's bodies are melded together in a way that the natural order never intended. Their bodies contorted, entwined in each other's limbs as if they were marionettes that got tangled and tightly wound. Upon further examination, stitches can be seen on their eyes, their lips sewn together in an eternal kiss. I hold my breath as I lean in. Their lips are shredded and covered in blood. As if they were still alive when the sewing was done and struggling to pull apart. Sam backs away behind the front desk. She's a strong one, but even this might break her, if her mind even comprehends it all. Even my mind doesn't want to rationalize what it sees as two human bodies.
We have to call the cops this time, right?
My eyes burn as I stare at Cass. The rigor mortis hasn't set in yet, but she's so pale and ever so still. Yes, we have to call the cops. And this time, you get to stick around. I make 2 calls. First the cops, and then Rosalind. As much as it pains me to dial that particular number, I know I need to. If I don't tell her about this first, she's going to assume I did it. If I'm as truthful as I can be with her, at least in this crime, the less likely she is to magically snoop. Cops, I don't mind snooping. I can handle them. Rosalind? I'm not so sure anymore.
Well, interesting to see you calling me.
I'm not going to take the bait. I've got a couple dead in the middle of my bookstore. I told the cops they were plastered to my ceiling before they fell, but the truth of the matter is that they've materialized from a window of smoke magic that manifested from the ceiling.
Is there anything peculiar about how these bodies were left?
They're left in pieces stitched together. If you want to know more, come see for yourself.
1 second, Jade. Lieutenant, I think we just found our bodies.
It's All in the Cards, Episode 9, The Tall Truths.
Cops flooding into my bookstore is the second saddest state I've seen this place in. It takes a few hours for the whole team to get there, but once there, they wreak havoc on my livelihood. Shutting my store down, with their tape and their numbered evidence cards and their flash photography, and they said it could be as long as a week or two before they give the all clear, it's enough to make my stomach turn. But it's a necessary evil. Rosalind stands beside me as we both spectate. Her mere presence sets my teeth on edge. This hoity-toity mountain witch has had her nose up to me ever since the day I left Mountainburg. I'm sure the fact that she's been vetted and working with these police is yet another thing in her book to hold over me, when I know the reality. Most of them don't take her seriously. Not until it's too late. Not until the body count is too high. The tension hangs in the air between us, like a mutual friend clinging to our shoulders for a picture.
It was good of you to call me, though I'm sure you were doing it just to save your own skin.
Ouch. It's usually me that starts in with a snark. Seeing these bodies like this probably made her grumpy. To show good faith, I didn't do this, but I didn't need to call you to prove that. It looks like you and the cops are both failing to find who's behind these crimes. Where's your posse?
Margot stayed behind at the last crime scene to be my eyes and ears, though I'm sure they're treating her like any civilian since I'm the only one vetted. The lieutenant stuck his neck out for me, but he's cautious enough not to cast that net too widely.
I'm sure she doesn't take too kindly to being treated like she knows nothing.
Not everyone is as quickly offended as you. That woman has more patience than either of us.
And Alexis?
She's back home preparing for the Coven's gathering.
They let their high priestess run off by herself the day before a gathering? Deadly choices.
You should know better than anyone that I can take care of myself.
Me better than anyone, huh? Does that mean you haven't had any other friends in the last decade? Sounds lonely.
And a lot like you. 2 peas in a pod we are.
If one of us was ripe and the other rotten. A man in a suit instead of a uniform walks over to us. I assume he's the detective Rosalind alerted about the bodies. His hair's on the shaggy side but slicked back to stay out of his face and keep that professional facade. He looks a bit like he just stepped off his motorcycle. I'm tempted to glance out the window and look for one. Before he's in earshot, I lean against Rosalind. How much does he know?
You can trust him with the truth of this crime.
I like how she words her answer. Specific truths that leave room to protect ourselves. Just like when we were kids. I shake off the nostalgic feeling as the detective stops in front of us.
You're Jade Albright, the owner of the store?
Yes, sir.
I'm Lieutenant Crenshaw. Has anyone taken your statement yet?
I told Officer Willis that we would wait on you. I suggest your reading room, Jade.
Of course she doesn't let me get a word in. She has to be the one in control. Though her suggestion makes me wonder exactly what the good lieutenant knows or what else he does when he's not protecting and serving. I lead the lieutenant and Rosalind back to the reading room. I'm a bit surprised to see Sam sitting at the table, but then I remember I told her to hang here until the police can question her. Sam sees the 3 of us and her jaw drops before she can compose herself and throw on a blank face. Is she that scared of cops? Why is she so astonished?
Samantha?
Rosalind knows her? The 2 exchange glances. Rosalind looks as confused as I feel, and Sam sits there, shrugging, looking like the cat that ate the canary.
Hi, Aunt Roz.
Aunt Roz? I can't believe I didn't see it before. Her natural talents, her stubbornness, pushing so hard to get close to me. A surge of anger fills my chest and burns my throat. Of course. Of course she's Rosalind's niece. I turn to Rosalind, but don't dare let my power slip out in front of a cop. even though I really want to lash out at her. You sent Sam to spy on me? Rosalind puts a hand up in surrender and then turns with the rage in her eyes to Sam.
This is where you've been spending all your time?
You told me it was okay that I explore other disciplines of magic.
She has no discipline. She's lost and broken. I had a feeling this is where you came to get your tarot cards, and that I was okay with. But if you're learning magic from her...
She most certainly is not and never will. After you give your statement to the police, I don't want to see either of you in my shop again. Sam stares wide-eyed as if I just stabbed her.
You don't mean that.
Can someone tell me what's going on here?
I will fill you in later, Lieutenant. Just a bit of a family feud.
Family feud? A family feud. Yeah, she would see it that way. I could have killed half the coven and she'd still see me as a lost sister. Such devotion to being the forgiving high priestess. It makes me sick.
I can escort my niece out to the back storage room. Officer Willis can take her statement from there, and then I would like for Samantha to get as far away from this place as possible.
The lieutenant doesn't argue. Sam's on the verge of tears, but bites them back and lets her anger surface instead. She narrows her eyes at her aunt, but softens a bit looking at me. Her eyes say I'm sorry. Well, sorry or not, I'm not having a Beckett for a student. Not after what her family did to mine. I can't believe I didn't catch it sooner. I can be mad the rest of my life. Right now, I have to smile and get through the lieutenant's questioning. Rosalind shuts the door behind her. I trust she will give Sam some guidance on how much can be said before giving her statement to the officer. As much as I hate her, I still trust her to protect us. I sit in my reading chair and the detective relaxes in the chair across from me.
So, Miss Jade, can you tell me what happened? Start from the beginning.
Rosalind said I can trust him with the truth. I guess we're fixing to find out if she's right. I've been teaching Sam tarot reading, and she has been begging to help around the shop. I finally gave her a key, but around 9 p.m. we started arguing.
Over what?
That kid has a knack for getting what she wants. She was trying to convince me she didn't have anywhere else to stay tonight. I started to tell her she couldn't stay, and was going to offer to take her home, but she threw a tantrum. In the middle of our fighting, the bodies just fell from the ceiling on the floor between us.
What did you do when you saw the bodies?
It took me a minute to process what I was seeing, but I knew they were dead. I called the police department right up the road, and then tried to inspect the bodies without touching or disturbing anything. From the way the bodies were stitched together, I had a feeling this might have something to do with the recent slew of murders around here. I knew Rosalind was helping on those cases, so I called her next. The lieutenant writes as I talk. I give him a moment to catch up and ask his next question.
Did you know the couple?
Unfortunately, yes. They were regulars here. They come in and buy coffee every morning.
Is that the only way you knew them?
This is the part I hate. I have to overshare things to earn trust to protect my bigger secrets. There was one night that the three of us were intimate, but we had a mutual understanding that sex was all it was. No bad blood. Rosalind steps through the door but says nothing. I don't know if her presence is reassuring or annoying, but I know why she has to be here.
Did you notice anything strange about how the bodies fell?
This was the tricky part. Yes, there was a cloud of smoke hovering against the ceiling directly above where the bodies fell. I have no mundane way to account for why the smoke appeared the way it did, or the bodies for that matter. The lieutenant looks at the high priestess and then back at me.
Has Rosalind told you anything about where we just came from?
I shake my head. I just know she was with you, and from the sounds of it, she may have been working another case with you.
Not another case. This case. Just before 9 this evening, the bodies of Eric and Cassie Newmeyer had been photographed in another scene. Shortly after 9, even though none of my team witnessed it, the bodies were gone.
Are you an avid country music listener? Join me, Miss Helen, and producer Kyle on the Texas Toast podcast, where we talk with some of country music's biggest stars, like Parker McCollum, Josh Abbott, and Pat Green, as well as my favorite part, new upcoming performers and songwriters like Dylan Gossett and Braxton Keith. We learn all about their journeys into music and what makes them tick, along with never-before-heard stories about the making of their songs. Join us every Tuesday and Friday wherever you get your podcasts, and you might just learn about your new favorite artists.
I assume you were at the actual murder scene? Did you find broken glass near where the bodies had been? He leans forward.
What makes you think to ask that question?
Whether you want to believe it or not, there are gifted witches out there that can do such a thing with smoke magic. But the magic is usually bottled or jarred until the caster is ready to use it. I'm assuming whoever it wasn't actually done when someone saw them and alerted the cops. They must have stuck close and waited for your team to be far enough away for the bodies to transport them here. I'm surprised Rosalind didn't mention any of this.
I did.
And why would they do that? Why your bookstore?
Well, I'm not sure why specifically my bookstore, but there may be something on the bodies that they didn't want you to find. Maybe some damning evidence they weren't able to retrieve since they were interrupted. So if I were you, I'd check the bodies thoroughly.
You seem to have a keen eye for what the perp would be thinking.
Because I'm not an idiot, and neither are you. I think you're cranky just because the magic part of these killings is for the first time proving to be real in your mind. Or at least make you question. And you hate that.
Who said I was cranky?
I look at Rosalind. How long have you known the good lieutenant?
My whole life.
That's news to me, but I let it stand. Is he cranky?
Very much so.
How is it that two people who say they can't stand each other play so nicely together?
Even with the hatred I hold in my heart for the Becketts, there are some codes we do not break. When Rosalind nods in agreement, that seems to be enough of an answer for him.
This disappearing and reappearing act makes my job a lot more complicated. The video evidence from your surveillance footage doesn't capture your ceiling, but it does look like some sort of haze hangs over the top of the image at the time the body fell. No court is going to believe magic is what transported the body in mere minutes, 10 blocks.
What other force could have?
That's my job to find out. I'm ruling out every other avenue before I believe witches did this.
Even after what I've shown you, Lieutenant?
He shakes his head.
Your abilities are compelling, but there's no concrete evidence to prove that something of that nature is what did this. You've understood from the beginning, you are my last line of defense.
Which means what for my business?
I understand this is your main means of income, but until I get to the bottom of this is an active crime scene.
So, if I find the murderers for you, my store opens quicker?
Are you implying you know who they are?
No, I'm implying I can find them faster than you. Rosalind probably could by herself for that matter if it wasn't for your damn due process. Anything else, or can I go home now and try to sleep this horrible evening off? The lieutenant shoots me an unfriendly look.
Actually, I'm gonna need to tape off your apartment. Since it's directly above where the body fell, I need to check to make sure there's no evidence up there. If it's clear, then you can return home in a couple days or so.
The last of my nerves flutters away on the lieutenant's words. I shove away from the table and knock over the chair as I stand. Can I at least grab some clothes before you ransack my home?
Afraid not. And, seeing how I'm done questioning you, I'm gonna need you to leave. No civilians need to be here.
Fine. Get your men up there and do it. The sooner we can get it over with, the sooner I can get home. Hi, you've reached Jade. My store is currently being ransacked, so if you are calling for a reading, you'll have to call the main store line, which will be forward to my cell. Have a blessed day. Rosalind lays a hand on my shoulder, but I pull away. Don't touch me. I suppose you get to stay while I'm kicked out of my own damn house?
Is there anything I need to know about your apartment?
I know what she's really asking. No. Anyone is free to move about up there as long as they don't mean any harm. If someone tries to lift something, it's going to sting.
Thank you. Listen, if you need a place to stay a few days...
That's a big hell no for me. Thanks, though. I grab my purse from behind the front desk and make to storm off, spinning once to grab my personal tarot deck from the shelf under the counter. Rosalind grabs my arm again, but this time doesn't let me cast her aside when I pull away.
I'm going to do something against my better judgment, but something's guiding me to do so. I want you to come to the Coven gathering tomorrow night. And before you give me a snarky comment back, I'm not inviting you back into the Coven. Something is off, and it's my turn to ask for your help and invoke our agreement. Go stay with your aunt, and come and see what I mean.
She lets me go. I want to shut her down, hard, but per our agreement, I can't. When she calls for aid, I must help. Be there at dusk, I presume?
Yes.
Work calls. What work is left for me anyways? I head outside without another word from Rosalind. The phone's still ringing in my hand. I walk over to a wooden bench in front of the cafe. If I'm going to have to work outside, I might as well be comfortable. Yeah, how can I see for you today? I hear his breathing through the distance, so familiar after our recent calls that I know exactly what he wants. Oh, it's you. Listen, I'm having a real shit day, so if we can do this quick...
Did you like lit chocolates?
I don't know where you're ordering these gifts from, but they are not arriving as scheduled. Either that or someone is duping you. A short, frustrated silence follows, before he asks his favorite question.
How am I going to die?
I shuffle the cards, tapping them lightly against the worn wood of the bench to get them centered. As I start laying out a spread of 3, I give him a warning. Just so you know, I don't have the same deck this time due to unforeseen circumstances, so hopefully my personal deck likes you enough to give us solid answers.
I'm just looking for some good news.
I take a deep breath before turning over the first card. A young boy and girl stand in front, surrounded by cups of flowers. He is offering her one of them like a lover's bouquet. The 6 of Cups. That usually represents innocence and childhood. Yours or someone else's?
I don't have children, but I do enjoy spending time with them.
You don't seem like the kind of guy to enjoy spending time with kids. Gambling, drinking.
They always like my games.
Your games?
Yeah. At least they like them at first.
A cool breeze flows off of the river as he speaks, and goosebumps raise along my exposed arms. I just want to be done with this call, to get to somewhere comforting where I can forget the horrors of the day. I cast a baleful glance at the store behind me, lights blazing as the police search every inch of my personal space. I flip over the next card and take in a sharp breath. After everything I've been through tonight, this was the last thing I needed. My mother's face staring up at me, strong and serene, as she holds a set of scales and a sword. Justice. You've been a very bad boy. The secrets you've been keeping are all coming out now.
You think you know my secrets?
As I stare at the cards before me, I start to see it. A man leaning against a brick wall, staring at a shop across the street. Behind the glass, a little girl plays with flowers on her floor, her pigtails bouncing with each movement of her head. She is sorting the flowers, making piles of 2 and 3 until she has several wild bouquets, the kind only a mother could love. The man licks his lips as he watches her, venom in his eyes. He moves around to the side of the store, waiting. Soon the girl comes out, a small bag of flower clippings in her hand. She sets the bag beside the dumpster, stopping when she sees him there. She's not scared. Not now. But she will be, later. I thought I didn't have any more fury left in me this evening, but the sight of that little girl, her sweet face looking up at him as if he were a regular person, a good person, makes my blood boil and race under my skin. I try to take a breath, to calm my rage, but it leaks out of me with every word. Oh boy, you've been very bad. I turn over the 3rd card, relieved at what I see. A man lying prone, tin sword stabbed into his back. And it looks like it's going to catch up to you.
What does that mean?
10 of Swords, a total and complete death. I don't think you're going to be able to weasel your way out of this one, fucker.
I escaped the last 2. Why would this one be any different?
Because I know what you are now, and I will make sure you pay.
Don't you even want to hear my side of it?
Go ahead.
I've always had these urges since I was young. I would see the younger kids and want to know what their blood looked like, what they sounded like when they screamed. It turned into my own kind of science experiment. I would push them when no one was looking, pull on the braid of the girl in front of me on the bus. Anything to get their eyes watering, to get that ungodly howling of an animalistic pain. But soon, I learned that that wasn't appropriate. The adults would watch me around little kids, keep me at a distance so I couldn't test them. I adapted. Watched videos online when the urge was too great. Made friends with strangers who could send over particularly delightful photos and audio files. Eventually, I could control my urges. Use them only when necessary.
Oh, please, tell me when it is necessary to hurt a child.
Do you ever have an interaction with someone that makes you wish you could get your unholy revenge? Hurt them so badly in a way that they could never put back on you. That's what I did. A boss who let me go so he could hire his buddy. The lowlife who sold me a lemon of a car and then laughed in my face when I tried to return it. The flower shop that claimed to deliver expensive roses that never arrived.
My face went cold, slick sweat along my neck dampening my shirt. I remember the little girl who appeared in my shop after our second call, her face twisted in pain as she screamed, "Monster."
Oh, I never did anything immediately. I would wait a few years until their kids were of a better age, and there would be no mention of me as a suspect in a police case.
I tapped the tin of swords with my free hand. Clearly, you weren't always so careful. You're going to die for what you've done. The cards see it, and now I see it too. I didn't see it, not the way I had before. Instead, I saw how it should go, how he should go. You'll be arrested, found guilty, sentenced to death by the state. It will be something painful like the electric chair or firing squad, and there will be no mercy for you. You will die a monstrous death, and not a single person will mourn you.
We'll see. We'll see.
Before I could curse him or tell him I'll see him dead myself, the line goes dead. After all this mess with the new Myers is over with, I'm going to hunt this son of a bitch down and suck that smug soul right out of his body.
Please, I just left my cell phone on one of the tables in the reading area. Surely an officer can bring it to me?
I hear a familiar voice in the small crowd of people gawking at my store. Standing and smoothing out my skirt, I go to see Miss Beth, who is pleading with the officer. It's no use, Miss Beth. If they've kicked me out of my own shop and home, I doubt they'll let you in.
But I don't even need Ian, I just need my phone.
It's okay. The lieutenant assured me my shop won't be closed for long. As soon as they let us in, I'll retrieve your phone and put it up until you can get it.
That has to be good enough, I guess.
Here, I'll walk you to your car. Looks like I'm sleeping in mine tonight.
Oh, no, dear. Why don't you come stay with me?
That's awfully nice of you, Miss Beth. But I want to stay nearby and make sure the cops don't completely trash my store.
It's just awful, Jade. I'm so sorry this happened to you.
I'm okay. More rattled by the phone call I just had than anything.
Is everything okay?
A thought hits me, and I stop walking. Miss Beth, you've been coming every week to my mother's store for what, 30 years? Do you ever remember flowers being delivered to the store unexpectedly? Miss Beth stares through me, going to that place that she goes to flip through the Rolodex of her memory to the exact moment, if there is one.
Twice. Once was actually from your father before the rat bastard took off. But the other, your mother never found out who sent them. She was convinced they weren't for her and just got sent to the wrong address.
Why did she think they weren't for her?
The note that came with them, it said, "Thanks for the great advice. I live to see another day."
My blood goes cold as she speaks, even though a part of me must have known the truth. If he sent those flowers back then there must be some kind of time slip going on, connecting the two of us through the decades. The chill through my limbs is replaced with a fiery rage as I look back at my store, still swarming with police officers. It had to be that damn 90s phone. As soon as I get back in there, I'm going to unplug and burn the thing. No. I'll feed it to Mr. Giggles. The sound of it being destroyed by his jaws will be so satisfying.
Are you okay, Jade?
I shake the thoughts from my head before offering Miss Beth a smile. I'm fine. Why don't you go home? I'll let you know when I can get your phone. As she walks away, I know the truth. I will destroy the phone, but I can't. Not yet. I have to make sure he's dead first. Rosie, the owner of the cafe next door to my shop, is gracious enough to let me crash in her upper room. She's been using it as an office and for storage. I buy a blanket, pillow, and some clothes at Walmart and tuck myself into the corner of her office. The bustle of closing time downstairs, moving chairs and tables to clean, kitchen crew shutting down for the night serves as a soothing lullaby. But the curtain over the windows are thin. The lights from all the police and investigator vehicles stream in and light up the room like a carnival is next door. I can't sleep with any light. I don't know why I thought I'd get any sleep at all. The office door swings open and Sam walks in. I stand up from my pallet on the floor and sit at the desk. How did you get in here?
Miss Beard knows I'm your student. She's seen me over here a lot. She let me in.
What are you doing here, Sam?
You might be okay leaving things the way they ended down in the store, but I'm not.
I made myself clear. I did not want you back here ever. You lied to me.
If I hadn't, you never would have given me a chance.
And you know exactly why.
I'm not my grandmother or my aunt. I wasn't there the night your mother died. Why should I be damned by actions that are not mine?
And how do I know that you haven't been just spying on me for your aunt?
I'm in just as much shit, if not more, with her for doing what I did. But I didn't know if her coven was the path I wanted to follow or my grandmother's path. I wanted to know what else there is.
Well, you won't be finding it here.
That's bullshit, and you know it. You know you were starting to warm up to me.
Yeah, I fucked up, Sam. I trusted you. I let you openly practice tarot in my store, let you drag me into a mess with a Dybbuk, hell, gave you the key to my store and trusted you to an emergency. And what did you do? Try to weasel even closer without my consent, and then flat out betray my trust.
You never asked. Not once did you ask my last name. If you had, I probably would have told you. You know why? Because I didn't think you were the type to hold someone accountable to someone else's fuck-ups. But apparently I was wrong about you too.
Sam jerks her keychain out of her pocket and rips the key from it, slamming it down on the desk. She fights back the tears as her voice quivers. I'm sorry about your mom. I lost my mom too just last year. It's why I've been staying with my aunt in Mountainburg. Before all this, I didn't have a direction. My mother encouraged me to study all different paths before I made a choice. Aunt Roz wasn't able to help me do that herself, even with her coven members practicing different forms. You are the only other witch I wanted to dare trust to show me. I'd heard how Aunt Roz spoke of you and what happened. She loves you as much as she hates you, you know? And I've got a feeling you feel the same. But that's not my problem, it's yours. My problem is convincing you that I deserve to be your student, not just of tarot, but of magic as well. Why? Because I'm just like you. You think I don't notice when you lend me energy? Push me to feel the way you want me to feel? You're wrong. But I was okay with letting you think I didn't know because I wasn't sure about you either yet. But I'm sure now. I'm an energy vampire, just like you. So you can insult me and push me away all you want, but I'm not going anywhere. Not because of your bullshit hatred for a family name. Maybe on a day that I actually fuck up, I'll take your hatred. But today is not that day. So expect to see me on Monday after school. Before I can open my mouth to speak, she turns and walks away with a confidence I hadn't noticed in her before. Maybe it wasn't there before because no one pushed her hard enough. Clearly, she's been pushed now. She opens the door, but pauses in the threshold, turning her head over her shoulder to me. And just so you know, one of those different forms that are practiced in Aunt Roz's coven is smoke magic. Do with that what you want. Now that is how you make an exit.
Hi, listeners. Another doozy of an episode. Sam is Rosalind's niece? How did we miss that one? And our creepy, consistent caller. Jade's got the full picture now. He's gonna get his. She'll make sure of it. This episode of It's All in the Cards podcast was written by Ashley McAnelly and Morgan Valko. Theme music for this episode was composed by ThaArsonist and produced by Scott Thomas. Featuring the voice talents of Ashley McAnelly, Scott Thomas, Nichole Goodnight, Jessica McEvoy, Nate DuFort, and Erin Lillis. We would like to give a shout out to our newest Patreon subscribers, Brian Brylow, Mike Devine, Nina Del Rosario, and Melissa Robertson. If you too would like to support the show, you can join our Patreon and get ad-free episodes, early access, and exclusive bonus content as the season rolls on. To find out more about our podcast, please visit us at www.it'sallinthecardspodcast.com, and be sure to check us out on Facebook at It's All in the Cards Podcast and Twitter at It's All in the Card. Links in the show notes. It's All in the Cards Podcast may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised.